I have been craving intense Sicilian flavors. It's very hot at the moment in Tuscany, and I really wanted something that is spicy and sweet and sour and rich and fresh all at once, and only Sicily manages to combine all of these flavors. And pasta alla norma is a dish from Catania. It's said to be linked to the opera by Bellini, and it traditionally has a fried eggplant and garlic and tomato and fresh basil and some ricotta salata, so some hard salty ricotta grated over it. I'm going to do a version of this, except I'm not going to deep fry the eggplant. I like to just toss it around with a generous amount of olive oil, but not actually fry it. And I think if you chop it quite into small cubes, you can get that wonderful result. It's kind of like a pasta alla norma meets la puttanesca, so it's like our pasta got dressed up to go to the opera, but she's dressed in something quite sexy. This is because I'm going to add capers and olives and chili, and these are flavors that are traditional to Sicily. You'll get them in a caponata, you can get them in a puttanesca, and I absolutely love them. I love that real intensity of saltiness and spiciness, and this is such a wonderful dish. It's easy, it's satisfying. My Italian husband, he loves vegetables, but he loves to have them alongside meat, and he just kept looking at me because he was in raptures and saying, "This is amazing, how did you do it, how did you do it?" He actually asked me to cook it for him multiple times in the last 2 weeks. I was making it for, in the time you saw where I'm filming, for my mother-in-law. I made this dish while chatting away to my mother-in-law, who was just sitting at the kitchen table while I was cooking and filming, and so it's very easy to make, but you definitely want to make sure that you give it enough time just to cook. But it's not one of those like, oh, leave it for 6 hours kind of pasta. No, I know I do those a lot, but this is much easier. I suppose you could probably put it all together, 45 minutes, you could have it on the table. Stay with me because I am going to share also 3 or 4 tips that I think might take your pasta from pretty good to exceptional. You might be fairly competent in the kitchen and you make a good plate of pasta, but it's just not quite like it is when you're eating here in Italy. And I'm going to offer you some reasons why perhaps your pasta could be elevated. So I begin by cooking the eggplant in a generous amount of olive oil, but not so much that we're shallow frying. It's chopped into fairly small pieces so that it cooks quickly, and also so that each piece absorbs maximum flavor. The salt will help it release some water and reduce down. Meanwhile, I chop 2 small to medium onions roughly and then add them to the pan. Speaking with friends and trying their pasta sauces, sometimes I've found that people struggle with not caramelizing the vegetables properly, or even if you're doing pancetta or anything properly, before adding in the tomato sauce or the crushed tomatoes. And this means that you're just sort of boiling your vegetables rather than sauteing them and getting that lovely caramelized flavor. Look how luscious and soft and slightly caramelized our eggplant has become. I've said this before, but a lot of people add all of the vegetables and the garlic and the onion at the same time, and they cook at different rates. And so you'll get the garlic that's burning, but the onion that's not cooked through. And this is a bit of a disaster. You don't want to be biting into a tomato sauce and crunching into half-cooked onion. Also, the flavor, onion really softens and sweetens as it's cooked. I like to add just a little bit of dried chili flakes and dried parsley as well, and then some garlic. I just chopped 2 cloves of garlic. I only add the garlic when I'm sure that all the vegetables are cooked. Because we're mincing the garlic or chopping it quite finely, it doesn't need as much time to cook, and so you really want to make sure onions and melanzane, the eggplants, are completely cooked through. And then you just want to be quite careful at that point to really stand over it and stir it, because if you leave just a little tiny bit of minced garlic on one point of the pan, it can definitely burn. You'll have a delicious spicy fragrance wafting up. You've got the chili and the garlic, and everything is kind of becoming very jammy, and it's coming together. At this point, you could have a little crisis. You might think, oh my gosh, actually the vegetables aren't cooked through, or oh my gosh, I haven't got a good non-stick pan and it's sticking to the bottom and it's going to burn. If either of these things have happened, don't worry, because you can just deglaze your pan with some white wine. Now, deglazing just means that you're pouring over a liquid and it's lifting off things that are stuck to the bottom. Actually, chefs use this as a way to capture all that flavor, because when things caramelize, and they do get stuck when you have the Maillard effect, and that's when they all go golden and go crispy, that's really intense flavor, and sometimes you'll miss that. If it is stuck to the pan, you want to grab that flavor and you want to distribute it throughout the sauce, and the liquid helps kind of circulate it all. But it's also a great remedy if you are in a bit of a crisis, because things have, you know, maybe the heat's too high or something just happened to be sticking, the garlic's about to burn. Put in that white wine, it'll just go, and then all of a sudden just takes things back to a manageable level, because everything will calm down, the temperature will drop immediately, and then you just cook off that alcohol. So don't worry, it'll all be absorbed by the vegetables, and you just cook off that white wine until there's no more sort of liquid, and you've just got the vegetables remaining there. But the white wine gives a lovely acidity as well, so I love also the flavor that it brings. Then you can add in your tomatoes. Now you can use, like I tend to do, the crushed tomatoes, because I like the chunky texture of them. If you don't have that, you could just use passata, but I like just a little bit more texture. You could even, sometimes what I do is I add passata with some chopped fresh tomatoes, just to get that extra texture. It's up to you. But what we're looking for, though, is to make sure that we have a sauce that is all together, where all the flavors have combined. You want to leave this now to just simmer away for, gosh, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes. Just watch it and use your intuition. I mean, you don't want it to reduce to like tomato paste, basically, but you also want it to have enough time to really marinate. I feel like sometimes when people are using tomato passata or canned tomatoes, they'll just put it in at the last minute, and then once they've stirred it, that's it. They say, okay, great, we can season it, we've got chili in there, garlic, it'll be fine. But no, you need to allow those ingredients time to marinate, to just come together. And you can always taste when, if a friend's made me, or in a bad restaurant, if they've just sort of thrown it together and then just served it up straight away, the tomatoes haven't had enough time to cook, and it tastes a bit watery or metallic, and this can just all be alleviated if you just leave it for like 10-15 minutes and just simmering on a low heat. Because we've put so many beautiful ingredients into this. There's garlic and there's chili, and even there's flavor. There's like a sourness that comes from the capers and the saltiness of olives, and all of that has to seep into the liquid, the white wine even. But we need to give it time. I mean, nothing happens just instantly. It's not just because they're all on the same plate that you're going to get them all in your mouth. You're not. You need to give the flavors time to develop, I think, anyway. Basically, you can make the pasta however you want, but this is what works for me, and what has Guido constantly saying, "Oh my gosh, it's so good, it's so good." So this is yeah, this is hopefully what might help you. Or even with my sister, she's like, why does it taste so good? I made this also for her when she was here, and she said, why does it taste so good? And why doesn't it taste good when I make it? And it's just little things, really. Just wait that extra 10 minutes and it will transform your sauce into something ethereal. I got some fresh basil from the garden, being careful of snakes because we've had, with this heat, so many snakes come out and just slide their way over the stone, and they really terrify me. So just have to be careful of that. Most of them are not venomous, but except that I think the viper and there are adders, but I've only seen the non-venomous snakes so far. We've been eating this delicious red lentil pasta, which is gluten-free, and it's the brand is Rumo, and it doesn't taste like gluten-free pasta. It's so wonderful. I've spoken about it before, but if you're in Italy, definitely try that if you're interested in just giving yourself a break from gluten every now and then. I like to retain 2 ladles of pasta water, but when you pour out the pasta, just keep the rest of it just in case, because you don't want dry pasta. I don't want it to be watery, but I don't want it to be dry either. So definitely retain some pasta water just in case you need that extra liquid. Another thing I like to do is to take my pasta out when it's still a little bit hard. We're obviously going for al dente. We don't want it to be soft and mushy, but take it out just before it's ready, like 1 minute before it's ready, and then cook it in the pasta sauce itself. The perfect plate of pasta, I'm sorry, I'm very particular about this, but it should come out and you shouldn't have any oil pooling around the pasta itself. You shouldn't have any tomato sauce that's pooling around there, a thin sort of watery tomato sauce. No, it should have all come together, because when you take the pasta out beforehand, that final 60 seconds, you're tossing it over the heat. You're tossing the pasta in the sauce. The pasta water is helping the sauce become thicker and velvety and adhere to the pasta, and the pasta is absorbing all the flavors. So consequently, you're never going to get, like, God forbid, a fork of just dry pasta or a forkful of pasta that hasn't been coated completely in all that full flavored sauce. We're not going to get the oil splitting from the tomato sauce, which is another thing that can happen to people, because we've cooked it for enough time, and we've cooked it and we've had the pasta and the sauce just marry together in the pan before they get onto the plate. Does that make sense? I just love pasta so much, and I really care about these details. As soon as you go to adding the cheese, you don't want to have it on the heat. Then you definitely want to turn the heat off. The cheese will melt just by the heat of the pasta, but don't ever cook your pasta while adding the cheese. That's not a good idea. Don't add your herbs either while you're cooking it, because they will just wilt, the basil will just wilt. We've got it all nice and fresh, and you just still want to retain that lovely vibrant green freshness. So turn the flame off, grate some cheese over and some fresh basil, and then stir it through, and with the heat of the sauce itself will help it all combine. You serve it out on the plate, and it should just sit up proud and robust and textured. I wish you could try it. Oh my goodness, it's so delicious. You just have all the flavors of Sicily. I'm so hot just thinking about it. Yeah, it's the perfect dish for me. It's not strictly pasta alla norma. It's not strictly la puttanesca. It's not arrabbiata. It's just everything that's great about Sicilian dishes. I think that it's kind of that meal that you could even make midweek when you're thinking, oh, I haven't done a big supermarket shop, but you happen to have these ingredients and all you basically need is the eggplant. And I finished this lunch with a lemon and blackberry cheesecake that I made the night before, and it was delicious, cold from the fridge. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my patrons, these people on screen. I don't know where they are, probably I'll put them here. And thanks to them who helped me keep this channel going. Did you like this video? Do you like what I'm putting out? If so, do give this video a like and click the subscribe and then the little bell. So many of you tell me that you don't get notified, but if you don't click the little bell, then you won't be notified. But look, whatever you can be bothered doing, I'm grateful for. So whether it's a like, a subscribe, or actually becoming a patron, that's it's all really wonderful, and I'm very appreciative. Have a lovely weekend, and I will see you next episode where we are exploring a castle. Grazie, alla prossima. True.